Part 28. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ryu Xiahua. Chapter 271. Under the dim waning moon, a long skirt fluttered, and the first autumn breeze blew up strands of hair, occasionally brushing against his face, which made Li Yuan's heart suddenly ripple. Tonight, at the Yuanyang slope of the school, the game that Xia's Haijin had not completed seemed to be completed with Baiwuxi. Xiaobai, come here and sit for a while, let's chat. Baiwuxi was held by Li Yuan's hand and nodded obediently. She already understood why Li Yuan's attitude changed 180 degrees after the confession after the college entrance examination. Before, she did not believe in the so-called past and present lives, but now in this situation, she became confused. What's more, even if she didn't believe it, even if it was just a real dream that Li Yuan had, unless she chose to give up this relationship, she could only accept it silently. Because, she knew in her heart that after Li Yuan experienced that story, he was thankful that he didn't hate her. But Li Yuan still accepted me, bought me a sports car, bought my parents a Mercedes-Benz, and bought a few boxes of Maotai for them to take back before leaving. He was very good to me and my family. At this time, there was no one in sight on Yuanyangpo. Under the dim moonlight, there were only Li Yuan and Baiwuxi. Li Yuan lay directly on the lawn, with his hands open, forming a big letter. Then he took off his large sports jacket, put it under his body as a sheet, and waved to the hesitant Baiwuxi. Xiaobai, come here and lie down. Oh, Baiwuxi's heart was pounding, and her cheeks turned red. She suddenly thought of some interesting things she heard in the dormitory. Some couples, in the middle of the night, went into the grove, or on the playground, and on the Yuanyangpo to do embarrassing things. Now, do I want to try it with Li Yuan? Thinking of this, Baiwuxi's body was straightened, and she lay nervously on Li Yuan's sports jacket, twisting and turning to get closer to Li Yuan's body. Li Yuan directly reached out and hugged Baiwuxi, feeling her body tremble suddenly, and asked with a curious smile. Xiaobai, why are you so nervous? No, no, Baiwuxi answered hesitantly, her mind was full of the gossip she heard. She glanced around secretly, and there were still scattered figures on the playground, gathering in groups of 3 or 2, and she didn't know what they were doing. Will it be the same as her and Li Yuan? Like a guilty thief, she was afraid that the figures on the playground would suddenly come over. Li Yuan joked, are you really not nervous? Why do I feel that your body seems to be shaking? Am I scary? No, it's just that Baiwuxi shook her head quickly and explained in a low voice, it's just that it's a little unsafe here. Li Yuan laughed dumbly when he heard this. Before he said it, Baiwuxi had already thought of that thing. Just right, so he didn't have to speak. We just lie down together, admire the moon in the magic city, chat together, and don't do anything else. Hey, Xiaobai, are you thinking about it wrongly? Baiwuxi quickly denied, no, I'm not thinking about it wrongly. Li Yuan saw her expression and her incoherent tone, and knew that she was thinking about it wrongly. Coincidentally, he also thought about it wrongly. Li Yuan smiled and said, let's lie down and chat, a rare quiet time. Yeah, okay, brother. Baiwuxi nodded obediently, as if relieved, looked at Li Yuan, and asked in a low voice. Brother, can you tell me the story after that? Yeah. Li Yuan nodded and began to make up a story on the spot. For a novelist like him, it is too easy to make up a few bloody love stories. After that, I began to give up on myself and even thought about committing suicide. After getting drunk one time, I felt that life was bleak and there was no meaning in living, so I came to the river, but was saved by another girl. Li Yuan talked eloquently and vividly described the stories of him and Xia's Haijin, Zhong Tingyu, Zhang Xiu and other girls. As for the rationality of the story, there is no need to consider it at all, because reality is often more magical than fiction. The story told by Li Yuan made Bai Wuxi even more confused. In this story, she was a scumbag who delayed Li Yuan's youth for 7 years, causing a young man with excellent character and academic performance to give up on himself and almost commit suicide for love. And her roommate Zhong Tingyu, the girl named Xia's Haijin from the computer department, and the girl named Zhang Ziyu from another school, all left indelible marks in Li Yuan's heart, helped him at different stages, and gave him spiritual and physical comfort. Bai Wuxi, with a complicated expression, put her arms around Li Yuan's neck and offered her a kiss. "Brother, I'm sorry, that's not me. I will never do that, to hurt you again and again." "Well, I believe you." Li Yuan smiled indifferently, feeling Bai Wuxi's initiative. He was no longer polite, directly reached out and hugged her into his arms, and put his face close to her. In an instant, their eyes met. The distance was less than 1 centimeter, and Bai Wuxi's breathing and heartbeat could be clearly heard. At this moment, the waning moon in the sky seemed to suddenly brighten, as if illuminating this small world. Li Yuan looked at the white moonlight in front of him, and the scene that he had been thinking about in his previous life was right in front of him, within reach. Without hesitation, he went straight up. Bai Wuxi did not avoid it, and responded enthusiastically and shyly. At this moment, the two of them used the sky as their quilt, the earth as their bed, and the sun, moon, and stars as their lights, and started a spring night. Miwan, 1314 Girls' Dormitory, Building A. Wang Lisa and Deng Mikey looked at the time. It was already 10:30 in the evening, and Bai Wuxi had not returned to the dormitory yet. Wang Lisa had a weird smile on her face. "Tisk, tisk, Wei 11 won't go back to the dormitory tonight, right? Have they reconciled so quickly?" Deng Mikey pursed her lips and chuckled. "I knew this would be the result." There was no way Wei 11 would give up on Li Yuan. As long as Li Yuan sincerely admits his mistake, says something nice, and makes a guarantee, Wei 11 will definitely be taken down. Our school dormitory closes at 11 o'clock in the evening. If Wei 11 doesn't come back for another half hour, he will definitely not come back tonight. Wang Lisa shook her head and joked, "To be honest, I thought Wei 11 would have a quarrel with Li Yuan for a while because of this incident. I didn't expect that they would reconcile so quickly. Fortunately, I didn't persuade them to break up." Ding Shanshan sneered angrily, "Huh, this scumbag is really cheap. Wei 11 is the same. He really has no backbone. If it were Wei 11, I would just do the same as Tingyu and cut off that scumbag, let him regret it." Wang Lisa laughed and said, "Everyone's personality is different. Wei 11 and Li Yuan are childhood sweethearts after all. They have been together for a long time, so we can break up at any time. Speaking of which, I really admire Tingyu for being able to end things directly and cleanly. If it were me, I might not be able to be so decisive." Su Tingro frowned slightly as she listened to Wang Lisa's words. She seemed to hear some yin and yang sarcasm. She herself also felt that it was a pity that Zhong Tingyu chose to quit directly. "But I don't know how to persuade them. We are all top students of 985 University. We all have different X, but our IQs are very high. Everyone is not stupid and will make the most suitable choice for themselves. Choosing to fight for it means admitting Li Yuan's cheating behavior, and may even have to share a boyfriend with other girls. This is simply impossible for some arrogant girls to accept." Zhong Tingyu, who was lying on the bed pretending to be asleep, suddenly felt sour when she heard the discussion of several roommates. She hated her own weakness. She could have tried to fight for it, but she just backed down. Zhong Tingyu, what should you do?" During the conversation between several girls, in the blink of an eye, it was already 11 o'clock in the evening. The door to the girls' dormitory was officially closed, and ordinary people could not enter. "Hee, let me tell you, Wei 11 will definitely not come back tonight." "No, wait, Go to bed, I have to get up early tomorrow for advanced math class. Wang Lisa yawned and sighed with envy on her face. Oh, I didn't expect the university courses to be so difficult. Our accounting majors are all so busy that they don't even have space in the library. The knowledge is too difficult to remember. We have to memorize it by rote. It's not to embarrass me. A science student. It would be great if I could find a boyfriend like Li Yuan. He is responsible for making money to support the family, and I am responsible for being beautiful. After 4 years of college, the gangster will be gone. Denmaiki pursed her lips and snickered, who doesn't want to? I also want to drive a sports car, live in a mansion, and eat whatever I want without worrying about money. Alas, it has only been more than a month since school started, and I have already spent all my living expenses. When I was in high school, I didn't think that after I went to college, I really had to spend money everywhere. The 600 yuan my mother gave me a month for living expenses was not enough at all. The consumption level in Shanghai was too high. It's a nice small city. I passed by a milk tea shop today and I thought a lot about buying a cup of pearl milk tea. After thinking about it for a long time, I finally decided not to buy it. Oh, I really want to find a rich and dedicated boyfriend. However, at least there is no shortage of snacks in our dormitory. Tingyu and Wixi can't finish all the snacks and fruits they bought. Wang Lisa curled her lips. Stop dreaming, a rich and dedicated man probably does not exist in this world. Isn't Li Yuan a ready-made example? Even though he and Wei 11 were childhood sweethearts, and Li Yuan chased Wei 11 for 3 years in high school, he soon changed his mind once he got rich. Every author's vows and love at first sight are just jokes. It's an eternal truth that men become bad when they have money. It's so bad, go to sleep. Yuaniangpo. After playing poker once, Li Yuan held Bai Wixi tightly in his arms and enjoyed this rare good time. This is the first time in 2 lifetimes that he has fulfilled a special obsession on the school lawn. It is truly thrilling and exciting, and it can stimulate his strongest potential and bring a new special experience. He immediately understood why some college couples were unwilling to go to hotels and instead chose to go into the woods. It was really a completely different and novel experience. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 272. Not only is it very cost-effective, but it is also extremely thrilling, with cicadas singing for fun and moonlight as a light. Once you try it, you will definitely fall in love with this feeling. Of course, most girls may not be willing to cooperate. After all, the risk is too great, and there is a possibility of exposure, which is too social and will be a shadow for a lifetime. Bai Wixi lay in Li Yuan's arms, whispering shyly, "Honey, will I get infected like this? I'm a little scared." Li Yuan smiled nonchalantly, "What's there to be afraid of? If you really get infected, just give birth to the baby and I'll raise it." Bai Wixi was very moved, but she said with some worry, "But, I'm just a freshman in college. If my parents find out, they will definitely beat me to death." Li Yuan rubbed Bai Wixi's head and smiled, "Don't worry, it's not that easy to get infected. I'm paying attention." "Well, okay, I just feel a little uneasy." Bai Wixi was still nervous. After completing the coming-of-age ceremony with Li Yuan, she read a lot of knowledge about this on the internet. "Hubby, can you fulfill one of my wishes?" Li Yuan asked. "What wish? Tell me." Bai Wixi stared into Li Yuan's eyes and whispered, "Hubby, can you help me write a song that belongs only to me?" Li Yuan's heart moved, frowned, and asked, "Why?" Bai Wixi looked a little nervous, afraid that Li Yuan would be angry, and bit her lip. Because, you wrote songs for them, but I didn't." Li Yuan laughed, "So you are jealous?" Bai Wixi nodded seriously, "Yeah." When she thought that Li Yuan wrote songs for Zhong Tingyu and the girl from another school, But she didn't, she felt very sad. Li Yuan continued to use his hands to help Bai Wuxi develop a beautiful figure, with a smile on his lips. Xiaobai, in fact, in the last life, I wrote a song specifically for our love story. Brother, is it true? Bai Wuxi's eyes lit up, her heart pounded, and her eyes showed expectation. Yeah, Li Yuan smiled and nodded. There is a song that perfectly reflects his feelings for Bai Wuxi in his previous life. Every time he hears it, he can't help but think of her. Bai Wuxi asked expectantly, Brother, can you sing it for me? Really want to hear it? Li Yuan asked. Yes, I want to hear it. Li Yuan smiled and said, Okay, I'll sing it for you. Li Yuan is not so averse to singing now, and he is more confident. He also found a strange thing. After his rebirth, his voice and musical talent have also been greatly improved. If it was before his rebirth, he could only barely be regarded as a KTV microphone master, and barely considered good among boys. After his rebirth, especially after singing Confession Balloon, Suyan, Nanchan Nan, Just Met You, etc., the quality of his voice is rapidly improving, just like his own musical instrument talent, and it seems like he has opened a cheat. However, with the hidden talent of becoming stronger by typing in writing, he is also very fast in accepting this special talent in music. To explain it in the words commonly used in online novels, after rebirth, the power of the soul doubled, resulting in a significant increase in learning ability, but it has not yet reached the state of photographic memory. As an online novel author, I have seen many rebirths with systems, and his talent for enhancing memory and learning ability is really not worth mentioning. Li Yuan smiled and said, This song is called White Moonlight and Cinnabar Mole, which is specially written for you. White Moonlight and Cinnabar Mole, Bai Wuxi murmured to herself, and combined with the story she just heard Li Yuan tell, she had more expectations in her heart. Li Yuan moistened his throat, thinking about the rhythm of the song in his mind, and slowly opened his mouth. The ballads of the past are all around the fingertips. The beauty that cannot be obtained is always scratching in the heart. Time is running fast, and the flames turn into the distant moon. There are no more turbulent waves, and they never drift in dreams. The white moonlight is shining, and you remember her goodness. Cinnabar Mole is hard to get rid of, can you know? Soon, this song White Moonlight and Cinnabar Mole was sung by Li Yuan. Bai Wuxi was beside, already in tears, her beautiful eyes staring at Li Yuan's face, listening to his affectionate singing, her voice hoarse and choked. Brother, it turns out that you have always had me in your heart. Li Yuan touched Bai Wuxi's head and decided to continue to increase the dosage. He looked affectionate and sighed. Classmate Bai Wuxi, you are the white moonlight that I love deeply in my heart, do you understand? Yes, brother, I understand everything. Bai Wuxi had already been moved to tears. Just now, after listening to the story told by Li Yuan, she was still complaining about herself, thinking that Li Yuan no longer loved her. But after listening to the song written by Li Yuan specifically for her, she realized in her heart how deeply Li Yuan loved her. In that story, I hurt him so much that he even gave up on himself and committed suicide for love, and I also wrote such a passionate song. If this is not love, then what is true love? Bai Wuxi cried with emotion, turned over, lay on top, and took the initiative to kiss Li Yuan. Brother, thank you, I like this song very much. Love me again. Hearing this, how could Li Yuan not understand Bai Wuxi's meaning? Without saying anything, he responded directly with action. More than an hour later, the figures on Yuanyang slope stopped pestering each other. Li Yuan sorted out his clothes and put the coat stained with grass and a faint scent of perfume on the shivering Bai Wuxi. Xiaobai, put on a coat, don't catch a cold. Bai Wuxi's cheeks were flushed, and the afterglow was still there. It was just right to use her name to describe this scene. The reeds were thick, and the white dew had not dried. If Xia's Haijin was a congenital shy saint body, and Zhong Tingyu was a congenital black silk saint body, then, Bai Wuxi was a congenital pure desire saint body. Bai Wuxi's special physique, after his hands-on teaching and repeated practical development, the hidden attributes of this physique have been completely stimulated, making people unable to stop. In a very short time, it can continuously stimulate the potential of the male body without wasting a single moment. Bai Wuxi was about to leave when he suddenly felt pain and almost fell. Li Yuan hurriedly supported him and asked with concern, "Xiao Bai, what's wrong with you?" Bai Wuxi murmured shyly, I don't feel well." Li Yuan glanced at the place where Bai Wuxi covered his hand, and suddenly understood in his heart that he had just used too much force. After all, he didn't even take off his shoes. "Then I'll carry you on my back." Li Yuan bent down and motioned Bai Wuxi to come up. Bai Wuxi looked at Li Yuan shyly, and the whole person was surrounded by happiness and sweetness. "Honey, are you tired? I can hold on." Li Yuan smiled and joked, "It's only 2 poker games. I won't be tired even if I play twice more. You should feel deeply touched. Come on up." "Hate it, huh?" Bai Wuxi blushed, lowered her head, and put her arms around Li Yuan's neck. Li Yuan held Bai Wuxi's buttocks with both hands, feeling the pressure from his back, and smiled. "Let's go, he, Zhu Beiji carries his wife." Bai Wuxi replied shyly, "Honey, you are not Zhu Beiji." "Then what am I?" He, you are a playboy." Bai Wuxi weighs less than 100 pounds, which is not a problem for Li Yuan at all. After a while, he carried her to the downstairs of the girls' dormitory. Bai Wuxi looked at the closed door of the girls' dormitory and asked hesitantly, "Honey, the dormitory door is closed. What should I do if I can't go back?" Li Yuan asked tentatively, "Then come home with me." Bai Wuxi nodded shyly, "Yes, I listen to you." Li Yuan smiled slightly, "Okay, then come to school tomorrow." You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 273. In fact, it is very simple to send Bai Wuxi back to the dormitory. After all, he has money. As long as this world is still a humane society and is not replaced by robots, there will be solutions. But since Bai Wuxi meant what he said and didn't want to go back to the dormitory, then just take him back. I can play poker a few more times in the evening. At this time, the road to the school was deserted. Li Yuan carried Bai Wuxi to the Lamborghini sports car and gently put her down. Bai Wuxi looked at the cool-looking car and asked curiously, "Brother, when did you buy the sports car? What brand is it? The logo looks like a cow." "This car is called Lamborghini." Li Yuan smiled casually and opened the scissor door. "I didn't buy it, someone else gave it to me." Bai Wuxi looked startled, very curious in his heart, and asked again, "Brother, who gave it to you?" Nowadays, there is no need to hide the existence of Zhang Juyu, but it can also bring more sense of crisis to Bai Wuxi. Those who are favored are confident. This is the truth. When you are not the only one and need to compete, you will cherish it even more. Whether it is at work or in relationships, it is the same, because humans are such creatures. Li Yuan smiled calmly and replied, "It was given by a girl." When Bai Wuxi heard that this expensive-looking sports car was given to Li Yuan by a girl, her heart suddenly tightened and she asked unnaturally, "Brother, do I know that girl?" Li Yuan touched Bai Wuxi's head and said with a smile, "Her name is Zhang Ziyu. She is a very talented musical genius and a young rich woman. She gave me this car." Bai Wuxi is no stranger to Zhang Ziyu. She has watched Zhang Ziyu and Li Yuan's duet at the Jida New Year party many times. That is a girl with a very beautiful appearance and a very special temperament, which makes people feel ashamed after seeing her. In the story Li Yuan told, the other party gave him a lot of help and encouragement in the creation of novels, and helped him get out of the quagmire at his most difficult moment. She didn't expect that this direct competitor was not only beautiful and could sing well, but she was also a rich woman who would give away a sports car as a gift. This was the real super white, rich, and beautiful woman. This made Bai Wuxi, who was already worried that Li Yuan would leave her, even more nervous and full of a sense of crisis. She doesn't sing as well as the other person, and her temperament is not as good as the other person's, not to mention her family's situation. She didn't know what she should do to compete with the other party. Bai Wuxi got into the passenger seat of the Lamborghini glumly, his heart full of sorrow. After today, she realized that apart from occupying a white moonlight position in Li Yuan's heart, she didn't have any advantages at all. What if one day, Li Yuan gets tired of his white moonlight? Li Yuan looked at the expression on Bai Wuxi's face and understood what she was worried about. This is exactly what he wants to see. It is necessary to give her hope and security, but also to let her understand that she is not unique and indispensable. Xiaobai, don't worry, I like you just as much. If you don't leave, I will never abandon you. After hearing Li Yuan's assurance, a smile returned to Bai Wuxi's sad face. Brother, I love you so much and will never leave you. Chapter 177. At the beginning of school, Bai Wuxi met Xia's Haijin for the first time. Late at night, Jade Mansion Community. After playing poker again and appreciating some water magic, Li Yuan looked at Bai Wuxi, who had fallen asleep beside him from exhaustion, and nodded with satisfaction. The Pua effect in the form of the story of the previous life is still very good. Bai Wuxi not only accepted his role, but also became more obedient and obedient. Even if he made some excessive demands, Bai Wuxi obediently agreed and tasted the human body Shenming Beijing flower. Xiao Bai, if you keep doing this, I will definitely not let you down, Li Yuan muttered to himself. No matter what happened to Bai Wuxi in her previous life, she has never sorry for herself in this life. It was somewhat unexpected to deal with Xia's Haijin and Bai Wuxi one after another today. He originally thought that Xia's Haijin and Bai Wuxi would be entangled and troubled for a while. I haven't even used some of the love tips I prepared, so I've got them done. Next, there are Zhong Tingyu and Zhang Ziyu. Li Yuan still has a little confidence in Zhong Tingyu. But there was nothing he could do about Zhang Ziyu, and there was a voice in his heart that he didn't want to hurt this lively girl anymore. It's good to just forget each other in the world like this. There will be no deeper harm and we can forget faster. Li Yuan sighed secretly in his heart. I took out my phone and looked at the messages. Every night, my phone would receive various text messages, as well as verification applications for adding QQ friends. There were especially many of them tonight. Xiahua I am your fan, can you add me as a QQ friend? Classmate Li Yuan, I am Zhang Manli, a sophomore from the dance academy. I would like to get to know you. This is my QQ number 6985. Hello, I am Liang Kaiyuhan from the music club. The songs you write are very nice. I also like music. If we have the opportunity, we can have an in-depth communication. Handsome guy Li, I really like your books and the songs you wrote. I want to get to know you. This is my photo, sexy photo with long black legs. I'm waiting for your news. Li Yuan opened the messages at random and was speechless. After being exposed today, he seemed to be even more angry. After a rough count, the number of people who sent him text messages and added QQ friends reached more than 100. Well, most of them are girls, and there are only a few boys. I'm so good, I can always attract girls, and a few of them are quite pretty. Li Yuan flipped through it casually. There were more than a dozen girls who had added selfies to their text messages. Although they were not as good looking as Zhong Tingyu, Bai Wuxi, etc., there were several girls who were better looking than Big Bear. Li Yuan didn't need to think about what these girls were thinking. It was normal for this kind of situation to happen. Now, at the door of the girls' dormitory, Baiwaxi's BMW Z4 sports car is still parked there, announcing to everyone in the school the magnanimity of Li Yuan's move. If before entering college, he wouldn't mind chatting about life with these lonely and beautiful ladies, and having a few fast food romances wouldn't be out of the question. As for now, forget it, he's a bit of a picky eater. Li Yuan couldn't read them all and turned to the chat history with Zhong Tingyu. Zhong Tingyu still didn't reply, but she didn't block him either. I hope Little Moon will not give up. Li Yuan shook his head and was about to go to bed. Suddenly, his hand vibrated, and a message popped out, catching his attention. Suji, brother Yuan, I saw a video of you singing a duet with another girl on the internet. What's going on? There are many rumors about you on the internet, saying that you have 4 boats. Are they true or false? Seeing that the message was from Suji, Li Yuan replied casually. Well, most of the information circulating on the internet is true. Suji came back quickly. Damn it, brother Yuan, isn't it? You really have 4 people, one of whom is a girlfriend, and you are roommates with Baiwaxi. Well, sister-in-law, does she know? You haven't broken up, have you? Li Yuan smiled slightly and replied, what do you think? Brother Yuan, you two have really broken up, right? By the way, this explosive news has spread in our high school class group. Do you want to explain it in the group? Li Yuan has blocked the high school class group a long time ago. He is so busy every day that his girlfriend has no time to accompany him. He has no time to go to the group. There is no other purpose except to show off in the group. To be honest, showing off in front of ordinary college students like Suji, Wang Shui, and Lu Jia no longer brought him any sense of satisfaction. Just like the G-spot threshold, it will continue to increase with experience. This is the case for him now. Li Yuan replied, if there is anything to explain, it doesn't matter. I don't care what others say. Suji clicked his tongue and sighed, brother Yuan is indeed V587 as always. Brother Yuan, what's going on with you and classmate Baiwaxi now? Li Yuan glanced at Baiwaxi, who was sleeping like a kitten next to him, and replied lightly. That's it, we haven't decided yet. Brother Yuan, you are so awesome. You are simply a role model for our generation. Please teach me. I feel like something is wrong with Yuchen recently. My relationship with her is becoming more and more distant. She seems to be avoiding me sometimes. With his fingers flying, Suji typed a long string of words, telling about the emotional entanglement between him and Wang Yuchen. Hearing Wang Yuchen's name, Li Yuan's mind suddenly came to mind about what happened late that night. The feeling was still very good. Li Yuan asked curiously, Daji, don't tell me, you haven't taken down Little Pepper yet. More than half a month ago, Suji almost hit a home run that night when we drank together. It has been almost a month and he still hasn't completely won it. The speed is a bit slow. Suji smiled bitterly, oh, brother Yuan, after that day, Yuchen guarded me like a thief. I had no chance at all. She didn't even date alone a few times, and she also liked to bring her roommate with her. I'm so fed up with the light bulb. Li Yuan was speechless and suggested, if it doesn't work, just change to the next one. There is no need to give up the entire forest for a tree. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 274. Suji scratched his head, brother Yuan, I'm not as outstanding as you. Girls all fall in love with you. I'm just an ordinary person. Besides, our engineering university has more monks and fewer girls. There are not many girls at all. Anyone who is a little bit pretty is chased by many boys. In our school, I know of 3 boys who are chasing Yuchen. Brother Yuan, I really feel a lot of pressure. Let alone changing girlfriends, I can hardly keep my girlfriend. If I had known this, I'm just like you, enrolling in a normal university, at least I won't have to worry about my girlfriend. Li Yuan thought the same thing. Su Ji went to a general engineering university, and the number and quality of female students were incomparable to Daxia University. Then there's nothing I can do to help. If it really doesn't work, you should improve yourself first. When you are good enough, will you still be short of girls? Change one every week, and don't bring the same one. Su Ji replied speechlessly, "My good brother, you think I am you? I am giving you a sports car worth millions and a mansion. My monthly living expenses are only 1,000. If I hadn't saved some before, with private money, I can't even afford a relationship. Every time I go on a date with Yuchen, we take a taxi, eat, drink milk tea, watch movies, go shopping, and give gifts. It all costs hundreds at once. The consumption in Shanghai is really too high. I imagine my mother confessing and applying for more. Click on the love fund." Li Yuan suddenly felt the same. He was in the same state in his previous life. Su Ji's family situation was much better than his, and he had a certain financial background. He is completely arrogant and pretends to be fat. As for Wang Yuchen, Li Yuan was also deeply impressed. He seemed to be a bit worshipper of money. I often post various so-called high-quality life in QQ space and later WeChat moments. Just a few days ago, he, Bai Wuxi, Wang Yuchen, and Su Ji went to the BMW Fourth Sun store to buy a car. She posted a lot of pictures on QQ space. Those who didn't know it thought Li Yuan bought it for her. It is normal for Su Ji to be unable to hold on to such a girl who worships money. Li Yuan chuckled, "Daji, are you short of money? Do you want me to sponsor some love funds for you?" Su Ji shook his head, "I want to, but I don't think it's appropriate. If you have an idea to make money, you can take me with you to make some money. Hey, let's forget about writing a novel. I really can't write it. An 800-word essay can kill me. But Xiao Zhuai is learning to write a novel recently. I don't know how it goes. Let him send it to me for a look. And he has been hiding it coyly. I suspect that he is writing a small book." Li Yuan really wanted to help his high school buddies Su Ji, Wang Shui, and Zhang Zhongding. Their lifelong friendship has been proven. Especially Wang Shui and Su Ji, who are both in the Magic City, can take care of each other. "Daji, I really have an idea to make money. Do you want to give it a try?" Su Ji asked tentatively. Unexpectedly, Li Yuan really had it, so he quickly replied. "Brother Yuan, what's your idea?" "You should have heard of stock trading," Li Yuan said with a smile. "I just invested in a stock, and it has been going up very well recently. If you invest some money now, you should be able to make a little money. Enough for you to fall in love in college." Of. As soon as Li Yuan finished sending, Su Ji quickly replied, "Brother Yuan, have you been speculating in the stock market recently? In the past 2 years, due to the impact of the financial crisis, hasn't the stock market been very depressed? Many people have lost everything." "Well, I just invested some spare money for fun. The stock market situation is indeed not good, but some stocks are not bad. If you want to make some quick money, you can invest in Biguanti's stock. This stock has been rising rapidly recently. It should still rise for a while." Li Yuan replied that he had already checked before going to buy Wuxi at night. Although today's increase slowed down, it was still 45%. After investing 20 million in Biguanti stock, it was completed in less than 4 days. It doubled and the net profit was 20 million. According to previous expectations, Biguanti's stock price should soar 7 or 8 times within a month or two due to the investment from stock gods, and then slowly fall back. If Su Ji invests a little capital and withdraws when the time is right, he can make a small profit. As for the loss, it won't happen. The worst thing is to take a long-term view and catch big fish. That is, he was afraid that Su Ji and Wang Shui were addicted to the stock market, which would be bad. After all, the stock market made money too fast. Even he was a little frightened. These days, I am earning hundreds of millions every day, which is much faster than starting a business. After a while, Su's Hike sent another message. Brother Yuan, of course I believe you, but, together with the personal money I saved before, the total is only about 10,000 yuan. Can I invest in the stock market with this little money? Li Yuan smiled and said, of course you can. You can open an account at the stock exchange directly tomorrow and buy Biguandi's stocks. You can sell them when I ask you to sell them. Su Ji has no doubts about Li Yuan. He can buy million-dollar sports cars such as Porsches and BMWs for Baiwexi and other girlfriends. In their hearts, he is an omnipotent god. Brother Yuan, I listen to you, I will open an account tomorrow. Li Yuan yawned, feeling sleepy. Well, Daji, I won't tell you any more. I'm going to bed. I'll come to our school to play when I have time. Okay, Brother Yuan, you go to sleep first. I can't sleep. I want to study how to open an account and the stock market. Li Yuan looked at the time. It was already 1 o'clock in the morning. He had played poker 3 times since the evening. He was indeed a little tired. Sleep, it was a thrilling and refreshing day. The next morning, Li Yuan hadn't woken up yet, and Baiwexi had already prepared breakfast. Brother, get up and have breakfast. Li Yuan opened his eyes and saw Baiwexi standing in front of him in vacuum pajamas. The beautiful spring scenery was looming, which made him a little hungry. After washing up, Li Yuan came to the living room and looked at the fried eggs, millet porridge, fried hot and sour potato shreds, and hand-grabbed pancakes on the table. He looked a little surprised and unexpected. He remembered that Baiwexi didn't know how to cook. Xiaobai, did you make this? When did you learn to cook? Baiwexi stared at Li Yuan expectantly, squinting her eyes with a faint smile, and spoke shyly. Well, brother, I have been learning to cook seriously with my mother these days. Try it and see how it tastes. Li Yuan picked up the potato shreds with chopsticks and put them into his mouth. His eyes lit up. The taste was not bad, not like a novice. Very good, Xiaobai, you are quite talented in cooking. You can be a beautiful little cook in the future. After receiving Li Yuan's praise, Baiwexi, who had been tense, breathed a sigh of relief and smiled brightly. Before leaving, her mother Yang Jinyu told her that if she wanted to capture a man's heart, she must first capture his stomach. She listened to it and studied cooking seriously. Now she can make some simple home-cooked dishes. Brother, if you like it, I will cook it for you every day in the future, okay? Li Yuan met Baiwexi's eyes, smiled and pulled Baiwexi into his arms, holding her soft and slender white little hand, which could be a hand model. Xiaobai, your little hands should be used properly. It's a waste to use them to get stained with oil smoke. Baiwexi stared at Li Yuan in confusion. Brother, I don't quite understand. What proper use should my hands be for? Li Yuan smiled and pointed his eyes down. Xiaobai, do you understand? Stinky brother, you are so bad. Baiwexi blushed and spat. Li Yuan smiled, let's eat. After dinner, I will take you to class. After arriving at school and separating from Baiwexi, Li Yuan trotted directly to the classroom. Both classes this morning were open classes. Students from 2 computer classes took classes together. As soon as Li Yuan entered the classroom, he was greeted by many classmates' attention, followed by all kinds of whispers. It was really the news that broke out yesterday that shocked everyone's eyes. Today, when they met the person involved, they naturally would not give up eating this shocking melon. Li Yuan is really awesome. He has 4 girlfriends at the same time, and they are all campus beauties. I am so envious. I am so full and hungry. I have never even held a girl's hand. Lee is really talented. The 3 songs he wrote are all very nice. The song Nguyen sung by him has topped the QQ Music and Qzhou Music charts yesterday. If he were not such a jerk, I might have become his fan. A guy like Lee Yuen is completely the ideal type for us girls. He is tall, handsome, young, rich, talented, and generous. I really want to be his girlfriend, even for just one day. What about Lee Yuen's girlfriend? They didn't sit together today. Did she break up with Lee Yuen? Break up? Probably not, but not necessarily. A jerk like Lee Yuen should be resisted and spurned by all girls. He is not worthy of being a human being. The different discussions in his ears made Lee Yuen frown slightly. He came to the back row calmly and sat with Lucia, Wu Hao, and other roommates. Lucia touched Lee Yuen's arm and laughed. Brother Yuen, which girlfriend did you spend the night with last night? Lee Yuen glared at him. Don't worry about it. Lucia glanced at Xia's Haijin, who was sitting in the middle of the front row, and laughed. Let me guess, if it's not classmate Xia, then it must be one of the girlfriends of the finance college. Could it be the beautiful Zhong? Li Yuen was speechless. 6th brother, you are a grown man, can you stop being so gossipy? Lucia smiled embarrassedly. Brother Yuen, don't be angry, I'm just curious. Haha. Li Yuen sneered and stared at Lucia. He didn't beat him on the back these days, so he was a little inflated. Lucia was startled and changed the subject, whispering, Hey, brother Yuen, are you free to play basketball this afternoon? Our school's basketball game will start this Friday, and we are all waiting for you to practice together. Li Yuen looked puzzled. Basketball game? Doesn't it usually start in November? Lucia shook his head and explained, No, our school's basketball game has always started after the National Day. First, there is a preliminary match between classes in the same college, and then there is a match for the entire school to determine the top 3. In addition to the class competition, there are also competitions between different colleges and departments. With your strength, brother Yuen, joining our college basketball team is a sure thing. Li Yuen suddenly realized that he really hadn't played basketball recently and didn't pay much attention to it. Okay, I'll check the time. If there's nothing special, I'll practice for a while in the afternoon. Lucia laughed and said, Okay, brother Yuen, it's settled then. I'll say hello to Renjun and the others after school, practice cooperating with each other, familiarize ourselves with the tactics, and strive to get out of the academy and reach the top of Daxia. Li Yuen looked at Lucia strangely. 6th brother, you are really confident. Is it Liang Jingru who gave you the courage? If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 275. Lucia grinned and said, Brother Yuen, it wasn't Liang Jingru who gave it to me, it was you who gave it to me. Brother Yuen, with your strength, plus me, Renjun, Wu Hao, and Yu Xiao, the starting 5 might be able to compete with the guys from the sports academy. Hee, I can already imagine that scene. When Brother Yuen comes on stage, the entire stadium will be surrounded by beautiful seniors and junior girls, cheering and cheering for us. I must perform well. If I play well, I will be imitated by someone. I'm attracted to you, this is a rare opportunity to be single. Mouse, do you think what I said is right? Wu Hao scratched his head and chuckled. Lao Lu, what you said makes sense. We need to use our basketball skills to attract girls. I have heard that in college, it is easiest to find boys who are good at playing basketball. Girlfriend. Li Yuen said speechlessly, you two are really good at calculating. I want to see if your skills have improved this afternoon. I hope you can compete with me. I keep torturing you. There is really no sense of accomplishment. Hee, brother Yuen, I promise to satisfy you. Lucia smiled mischievously. Brother Yuen, let me tell you secretly that I have developed 6-pack abs. It's a pity that I don't have strong waist and abdominal strength, but there is no use for it. Li Yuan glanced at Lucia's figure, and it seemed that he was indeed a little stronger. Lao Lu, if you are really horny, I suggest you take a flight. Now you can take a flight all over the country. In the teaching building next door to where Li Yuan was, Bai Wuxi was absent-mindedly listening to the advanced mathematics class, and his thoughts had all flown to another teaching building. Beside Bai Wuxi, Wang Lisa asked in a low voice, "Wuxi, after class is over, should we go over?" Bai Wuxi looked a little at a loss. As soon as they arrived in the classroom today, roommates Wang Lisa and Deng Mikey suggested that they go to the cafeteria to have lunch with Li Yuan after they arrive in Li Yuan's classroom. According to Wang Lisa's words, Wei 11, you and Li Yuan are childhood sweethearts, a match made in heaven, everyone else is a third party. You must use your own momentum to intimidate other mistresses. Bai Wuxi was very entangled in her heart. After listening to the story Li Yuan told last night, she understood that her weight in Li Yuan's heart was not as important as she imagined. But there was no way to say these words to Wang Lisa and the others. Moreover, she also had an idea in her mind to see what the girl named Xia's Haijin looked like that would make Li Yuan like her so much. It would be fine if it were Zhong Tingyu. Even she admitted that her roommate was indeed incredibly beautiful. Her aloof goddess temperament filled people with a desire to conquer. There was no man who didn't like her. She would kill both young and old. That kind of thing. Deng Mikey seemed to see Bai Wuxi's confusion and comforted her. "Wuxi, you can definitely find a reason, such as waiting for Li Yuan to get out of school and have lunch with him." Wang Lisa pursed her lips and snickered, "Come to think of it, Li Yuan, this scumbag, hasn't invited us to dinner yet. It's not too much to ask him to treat us to a meal in the cafeteria today. I've already inquired. Li Yuan and the others are in the building next to ours. There are still more than 20 minutes until get out of class ends. We will go there right after class. It's just right." Under the persuasion of Wang Lisa and Deng Mikey, Bai Wuxi hesitated for a long time and decided to go to Li Yuan's classroom to have a look. Seeing that Bai Wuxi agreed, Wang Lisa and Deng Mikey looked at each other and compared themselves secretly. After Bai Wuxi and Li Yuan left last night, the two decided to be Bai Wuxi's love counselors and help her completely capture Li Yuan. The get out of class bell rang soon. "Wuxi, don't worry, let's go there quickly." Wang Lisa and Deng Mikey pulled Bai Wuxi, who was still hesitating, and walked out of the classroom. Okay then. Bai Wuxi was very nervous at the moment, her heart was pounding, and she felt guilty. After Bai Wuxi, Wang Lisa and Deng Mikey left, Ding Shan, who was sitting behind them, curled her lips, looked at Su Tingro beside her, and murmured in a low voice, "Tingro, look at them, they are actively helping Wei 11 with suggestions, as if they want to drive away all the mistresses. It's a pity that Tingyu gives up like this. Her eyes are swollen from crying because of Li Yuan. Today's class no one came." Su Tingro nodded in agreement and sighed helplessly. "Tingyu has her own ideas, and it's useless for us to persuade her. Besides, Li Yuan seems to be very prosperous now, but the future may not be much better. This kind of boy will not lack all kinds of beautiful women around him. Instead of being entangled all the time, it is better to let go early and find a boy who truly loves you. Live a simple but happy life. I think Tingyu did the right thing. Just cut it off. Why bother?" Ding Shan nodded. "Perhaps what you said, Tingro, is right. We study hard, constantly improve ourselves, find a good job in the future, and become financially independent on our own. This is what women in our new era should do." Bai Wuxi and Wang Lisa quietly came to the next building and took a look at the lecture theater. They kept beating drums in their hearts, as if they were rushing to the execution ground. Wang Lisa checked the time and encouraged Bai Wuxi, "Wuxi, there are still 5 minutes until get out of class ends. Let's sneak in from the back." Bai Wuxi grabbed the LV bag that Li Yuan gave her, looking very nervous, Shasha, if we go in like this, we won't be discovered by the teacher, right? Wang Lisa chuckled, what's the matter? This is a university, not a high school. Teachers at the university won't ask at all. This is still a public class. Hurry up, don't dawdle. If you wait until Li Yuan and the others finish class, the effect will be greatly reduced. Bai Wuxi nodded in confusion, okay then. Wang Lisha excitedly pulled Bai Wuxi up the stairs at the back door and quietly opened the door. The three of them thought they would sneak in quietly without knowing it. Who knew? Just after opening the door and before sitting down, they happened to meet the gaze of the professor who was giving the lecture. Yi Gang pushed his glasses, looked at Bai Wuxi and the other two, and frowned. Which class are you three girls from? Get out of class is almost over now, why are you here just now? As soon as these words came out, the eyes of more than 100 people in the School of Computer Science all looked at Bai Wuxi and the other two. Hey, who are these three girls, are they from class 2, why don't I have any impression of them at all? The girl in jeans is really super beautiful, she amazed me, who is she? I don't know these three girls. Did they go to the wrong classroom? Li Yuan had been playing with his phone, listening to the discussions around him. When he looked back, he saw Bai Wuxi and her two roommates looking around nervously, at a loss. He was shocked, his eyes widened, and he couldn't help but swear. Why is Xiao Bai here? Lu Jiao was also staring at Bai Wuxi. After hearing what Li Yuan said, he subconsciously asked, Brother Yuan, are you here to find you? Before Li Yuan opened his mouth, he heard Wang Lisha had already bravely answered Professor Yi Gang loudly. Teacher, we are not in this class. We are here to wait for someone. While saying this, he was still looking for Li Yuan in the classroom, and happened to meet Li Yuan's gaze towards Bai Wuxi. Immediately pointed at Li Yuan and shouted, Teacher, we are looking for Li Yuan. As soon as Wang Lisha said this, the eyes of other students in the classroom suddenly looked at Li Yuan. Even Xiao's Haijin, who was sitting in the front row and listening to the class attentively, cast her eyes over and saw Bai Wuxi, the most beautiful of the three girls. As if they felt the same way, their eyes met in an instant. Chapter 178 Love Battle, A Different Churro Field. Xiao's Haijin stared blankly at the beautiful girl in the back row of the classroom. Their eyes met in an instant, making her heart pound and her eyes evasive. Although she didn't know the other person, she had a hunch in her heart that the person was one of Li Yuan's girlfriends in the finance college who was circulated on the internet. Are they here to find Li Yuan? Xiao's Haijin muttered in her heart. She wanted to turn her head in her heart, but her body didn't obey her, as if there was a mysterious power that made her look at the other person. Xiao's Haijin's roommates, such as Shen Ziu, Ji Chen Chen, and Li Lanrong, also turned around curiously and looked over. Shen Ziu frowned and asked in a low voice, why are there three girls in our class looking for Li Yuan? Who are they? Gao Xian suddenly had an idea and thought of a possibility. His eyes widened, he covered his mouth and exclaimed. Could they be the one from the finance college? Although Gao Xian did not say it clearly, they were not fools. As roommates of one of the parties involved, they naturally read the information circulating on the internet in detail. Li Yuan has two girlfriends in the finance college, and these two girlfriends are even college roommates. One of them seems to be a high school classmate of Li Yuan, and they can be considered childhood sweethearts. Gao Xian, Ji Chen Chen and other girls all looked at Bai Wuxi standing in the middle. Only this girl with outstanding temperament, very beautiful appearance, and a kind of childhood sweetheart next door could be Li Yuan's girlfriend. As for the other two girls, their looks can only be considered above average. In the eyes of ordinary boys, they may look good, but compared with Xiao's Haijin, they are not at the same level at all, and Li Yuan can't possibly look at them. Li Lanrong glanced at the cute Xiao's Haijin and reminded him, Haijin, they are here with bad intentions. Are they here to assert their sovereignty in our class? Do you want to respond? Ji Chen looked at her strangely, and she felt it was very interesting. She also smiled and suggested, Zhaijin, this is our computer class, your home court, you must not back down. Xia Zhaijin's eyes were a little evasive, and she pinched the corner of her clothes, looking very nervous. Gao Xian felt helpless when she saw Xia Zhaijin's appearance. After more than a month of getting along, they all understood Xia Zhaijin's personality. She is the kind of girl who is too gentle, shy and low-key. Or, to describe her with an idiom, it is more appropriate to say cautious and cautious. Gao Xian whispered, sisters, let's give Zhijin some advice on how to respond. The class will be over soon. Yes, it's good to keep to ourselves and live in peace. They suddenly came to our class to demonstrate. Zhijin must not be outdone. As Zhijin's love strategist, let's help Zhijin think of a way to deal with this situation. When Ji Chen, Gao Xian, and other girls were talking in a low voice. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 276. The other students in the freshman computer department also looked back curiously, whispering in groups of 3 or 2, making the whole classroom buzz like a mosquito. Are you here to see Li Yuan? The girl in the middle is very beautiful. Could she be one of Li Yuan's girlfriends in the finance college? I feel like this is the official girlfriend. Is she here to catch the mistress? No, why is the one in the finance college the official girlfriend? I think Xia Zhaijin is Li Yuan's official girlfriend. I feel like there is a hot emotional drama about to be staged. Why hasn't teacher Yi finished class yet? I can't wait to eat melons. I thought the plot of 2 women fighting for 1 man would only appear in movies and TV, but I didn't expect it to happen in reality. In Ardaxia University is a 985 university, and such a ridiculous thing happened. Aren't all the girls nowadays brainless girls who only know how to worship money? Isn't Li Yuan just a couple of stinky money? I am looking forward to how Xia Zhaijin from our class will oppose. Will she pretend to be blind or fight back? I live in the dormitory next to Xia Zhaijin, so I know her personality better. She will probably pretend to be blind. Haha, no way, she is still pretending to be a coward when they come to her door. Alas, she is the kind of gentle person. It's all because of Li Yuan, the scumbag, who flirts with women everywhere. Lucia's eyes widened. He was just joking, but he didn't expect that his words would come true. She really came to find Li Yuan. Brother Yuan, is your girlfriend here to visit you? I've seen Zhongting Yu. Could this pretty girl in the middle be your childhood sweetheart from high school? Brother Yuan, why do I feel chilly, as if a storm is coming? Li Yuan glared at Lucia and cursed in a low voice, 6th brother, can you shut up and stop talking? Hee, Brother Yuan, I won't say anything then. Lucia shrugged, looking like a bystander, and joked, it's okay for me to just watch the show silently. Li Yuan felt his scalp tingling. He had never expected that Baiwuxi, who had behaved well last night and looked obedient, would suddenly do this to him, completely catching him off guard. On the stage, Yi Gang heard that the 3 girls were looking for Li Yuan, and subconsciously glanced at Li Yuan in the back row. He had naturally heard of the student who was famous in Daxia University, and was quite familiar with him. It was just that it was a good reputation before, which could quickly improve Daxia University's scores and increase its positive influence. But now it has suddenly turned 180 degrees and has become a mixed reputation. After all, no matter which school, a romantic scandal is always not acceptable and will bring negative effects. It's just that Li Yuan's reputation is too loud. He was first a young online writer with a monthly income of 1 million, and now he is a creator with considerable musical talent. As the deputy director of the School of Computer Science, he also knows one thing, that Li Yuan has applied for support for college students' entrepreneurship, and it is a technology-type enterprise. All these factors add up to make the leaders of the college feel a little helpless. They can only pinch their noses and control the speed and scope of the spread of negative public opinion. Alas, the young people nowadays are really different from our time. Yi Gang sighed in his heart, and was also helpless. He looked at the time. There were still 5 minutes before the end of the get out of class. Listening to the messy whispers in the classroom, he coughed and said something expressionlessly. Ahem, get out of class is over now. The class monitor will come and copy the courseware. When students such as Li Lanrong and Gao Xian heard that Professor Yi Gang had ended the get out of class early, they were all shocked. Professor Yi Gang is a nationally renowned professor who is known for his rigorous lectures and strict control of the class progress. He rarely ends the get out of class early. Li Lanrong pursed her lips and whispered, the reason why Professor Yi ended the get out of class early must be because of these 3 girls just now. Sisters, have you thought of a countermeasure? What should we do now? We can't weaken our momentum. We must support Zhaijin. Even Shen Ziyu, who always disliked Li Yuan, was encouraging Xia Zhaijin at this time. She held Xia Zhaijin's hand and frowned. Zhaijin, it's almost noon now. They will definitely ask Li Yuan to have lunch together. We can bring it up first and make them embarrassed to ask. Gao Xian suggested, I think Zhaijin can go directly to Li Yuan now and show her status in front of them to see if they are embarrassed. Isn't it a head-on confrontation? Who is afraid of who? Ji Chen patted Xia Zhaijin, whose body was shaking slightly, and encouraged loudly, Zhaijin, don't be afraid. We sisters support you. They come to our class to provoke us. Can we be afraid of them? Listening to the rare unanimous encouragement from her roommates, Xia Zhaijin looked hesitant and secretly looked behind. In the field of vision, the beautiful girl was walking towards where Li Yuan was. Bai Wuxi's cheeks were flushed, and she walked shyly, like a little bird, and came to Li Yuan and called softly. Brother. Usually, when Li Yuan heard Bai Wuxi call him brother, he just felt very useful and sweet in his heart. But now, Bai Wuxi said brother in front of his roommates and classmates. He seemed to have felt that the eyes of more than 100 people in the freshman computer department were focused on him. Looking at Bai Wuxi, who was still pretending to be well behaved, Li Yuan felt a little unhappy. Isn't this putting him on the fire? The thing he hates most now is being watched and talked about by others. It is conceivable that after Bai Wuxi and her roommate suddenly appeared in the computer department classroom, how many people would talk about it? Maybe someone would upload it to the internet. Although it didn't have much impact on him, this kind of disgusting thing kept happening, which also greatly affected his mood and might even lead to some bad consequences. Why are you here? Li Yuan's tone was not very good, and his eyebrows were slightly wrinkled, which happened to be seen by Bai Wuxi, who had been staring at Li Yuan. I. Bai Wuxi looked at a loss, and was so nervous that he couldn't even speak properly. He looked at Li Yuan hesitantly, a little afraid that he would be angry with him. I miss you. Seeing Bai Wuxi's nervous look, Li Yuan's heart softened unconsciously. He has a unique taste, he always likes to eat soft food instead of hard food, and he has no resistance to white, soft and sticky things. Li Yuan subconsciously wanted to reach out and rub Bai Wuxi's little head, his hand stretched out in the air, and stopped abruptly at the moment when it was about to touch Bai Wuxi's head. He suddenly realized that this was in the class, and hundreds of classmates were watching. He glanced around, and it was true. Whether it was roommates such as Lu Jia and Wu Hao, or teammates such as Ren Jun and Yu Xiao, they all stared with big eyes, concentrating on eating melons quietly, and they were not so serious in class. They all had an expression of waiting for a good show to start. Li Yuan cursed in his heart, damn, they are all just watching the fun and not minding the trouble. Li Yuan looked at Bai Wuxi and said speechlessly, "Didn't we just meet this morning?" Bai Wuxi also slowly regained her composure, staring at Li Yuan with her beautiful eyes, and whispered, "Brother, I want to have lunch with you. And my roommates Shasha, Mikey, and others, they want to meet you." Li Yuan was speechless. He planned to have lunch with Xiao's Haijin at noon. After coming to class today, he and Xiao's Haijin had already sent text messages to each other in class and made an appointment. "Well, Xiaobai, I have other arrangements for lunch. Let's go another day. I will treat you roommates to a big meal." As soon as Li Yuan finished speaking, he heard a girl's voice coming from his ear, and a fragrant breeze came. "Li Yuan, we Wei 11 came to your class to find you. Can't you adjust the time?" The speaker was Wang Lisha. She had a high ponytail and a denim skirt. Her snow-white thighs were exposed. She was very dazzling and showed a youthful atmosphere. Li Yuan had no impression of Wang Lisha. He had only seen two girls, Ding Shanshan and Su Tingro. Li Yuan asked, "Who are you?" Wang Lisha came to Li Yuan and was stared at by hundreds of eyes, but she was not stage frightened at all. She answered calmly as if she had come to her home court. "Li Yuan, let me introduce myself. My name is Wang Lisha, and I am Wei 11's roommate." Li Yuan nodded calmly, "Oh, hello." Seeing Li Yuan's calm attitude, Wang Lisha was furious. It was agreed that they were here for a demonstration, but why didn't the expected scene appear? Li Yuan didn't seem nervous at all. "Li Yuan, what other plans do you have for lunch? Can it be more important than accompanying your girlfriend?" Li Yuan wanted to say, "Accompany another girlfriend." But he was afraid of making Bai Wuxi and her roommates so angry that they would explode on the spot, so he changed the excuse when the words came to his lips. "Well, there is something small at the company, and I need to go there." Li Yuan did not lie. He was indeed going to the company to listen to the report on the internal testing of the website yesterday. Yesterday, Lin Yue had led the team to invite many people from major universities in the Magic City to conduct internal testing of the website and reported many problems. It's just that the incident broke out yesterday, and he was busy accompanying Xiao's Haijin, so he was delayed. "I have to go back at noon today, and of course, I have to take Secretary Xia back to the company with me." Oh, Bai Wuxi thought that Li Yuan was talking about the company where he wrote novels, and felt a little disappointed. Wang Lisha asked curiously, "Li Yuan, you still run a company?" Li Yuan just smiled and was too lazy to explain, "I guess so, just a small thing." Seeing that Li Yuan didn't want to answer, Wang Lisha gritted her teeth. She was really curious about what kind of company Li Yuan ran. And Bai Wuxi seemed to have known it for a long time and was used to it. But she never told her roommates, which was a bit strange. As they were talking, a familiar female voice came to their ears. "Li Yuan, Zhaijin has something to ask you. If the confession fails, chase her bestie." Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 277. Li Yuan turned his head and saw that Xiao's Haijin was forcibly held by Shenziu and Li Lanrong on the left and right, and came to him. Li Yuan subconsciously glanced at Bai Wuxi, and then looked at Xiao's Haijin, who was shyly lowering her head and trembling slightly, and suddenly felt that the atmosphere was a little frozen. Bai Wuxi's eyes were fixed on the girl in front of her. She was about the same height as her, with a simple high ponytail and a sports casual outfit. Even through the slightly loose clothes, you can see that she has a good figure. Especially those eyes, which were the cleanest she had ever seen in her life. Her flawless white face was covered with blushes. She pinched the corners of her clothes nervously, and her slender hands seemed to have nowhere to put, looking very shy and restrained. "Is she the girl who saved his life in the story Li Yuan told, but had a very tragic fate? One of the cinnabar moles that Li Yuan mentioned?" Bai Wuxi's mind was full of thoughts, and she thought of the story Li Yuan told last night. When Bai Wixi looked at Xia's Haijin only looked at Wixi slightly, then lowered her head shyly, not daring to look at Bai Wixi's eyes. Xia's Haijin was very nervous. She had never expected that she would encounter such a situation and face Bai Wixi, her love rival, face to face. Bai Wixi looked at Xia's Haijin's appearance, and felt sour in her heart. It was obviously she who knew Li Yuan first, and they had already had feelings for each other in high school, and he had pursued her for 3 years. As a result, just 1 month after arriving at the university, after giving everything to her, she thought that they would be together for life, from school uniforms to wedding dresses, and grow old together. However, this time, in just over a month, there were 3 more love rivals. Each love rival was very powerful, leaving her with no psychological advantage. Not to mention the girl from Jida named Zhang Ziyu, she was excellent in all aspects, especially her family, which was even more overwhelming. Her roommate Zhong Tingyu was the most beautiful girl she had ever seen. She looked like a cold goddess, which made her feel ashamed. But the girl in front of her was so pure and flawless, which made people want to protect her. Even if she was a boy, she would like this kind of girl who looked weak, pitiful, and well-behaved. And her position in Li Yuan's heart became the least important one because of an incredible fantasy dream. She only occupied the position of white moonlight, and this white moonlight hurt him so deeply in that story. "Brother, who is this?" Bai Wixi bit her lip and looked at Li Yuan, her tone full of coquettish charm. As soon as Bai Wixi said this, everyone looked at Li Yuan, waiting for his answer. Lucia, Wu Hao, and others behind Li Yuan were secretly sweating for Li Yuan. In this case, no matter how he answered, it would be a fatal question. There were also so many eyes watching closely. When Brother Yuan's 2 girlfriends meet, will they fight directly? I heard that when girls fight, they will pull each other's hair and dig each other's faces, which is much more brutal than boys' fights. They probably won't fight, with so many people watching. However, Li Yuan is really lucky, his 2 girlfriends are really top-notch beauties. As expected, having money is good. Haha, isn't that nonsense? If he didn't have money, Li Yuan would be thankful to find a girlfriend with such a good look, not to mention dating 4 at the same time. Who says it's not true? Rich people never lack beautiful girls, and beautiful girls are just scarce resources at the bottom. In the entire lecture hall, except for a few people who were not interested and had left, the other hundreds of people were watching and whispering. At this time, although Li Yuan was not a big star, he was also a relatively famous public figure in a certain sense. In the past month, he was exposed as a great writer, $1 million monthly income, a freshman in a 985 university, and other explosive points, which attracted a lot of fame. Battle Starry Sky is a bestseller on the internet. It was published offline yesterday. It is said that on the day of its release, all major bookstores were packed. In the past few days, songs such as Confession Balloon and No Makeup have dominated the music scene. In addition, they were exposed yesterday and quickly became popular. However, this popularity is a bit black and red. For the big star in the school, the young freshmen have all turned on the melon-eating mode. Li Yuan smiled indifferently, calmed down, and spoke calmly. "Her name is Xia's Haijin, I told you yesterday." Bai Wixi actually knew in her heart, but she just deliberately asked knowingly to see how Li Yuan would answer. This impartial answer made her feel relieved. "Hello, my name is Bai Wixi, Li Yuan's female high school classmate." Bai Wixi stretched out her hand and looked at the well-behaved and shy Xia's Haijin. The word girlfriend came to her lips and changed to high school classmate. In front of Li Yuan's other girlfriend, saying that she was Li Yuan's girlfriend was too provocative. Xia's Haijin raised her head, looked at Bai Wixi in confusion, and shook hands politely, opening her pearly teeth and answering in a mosquito-like voice. "Hello. My name is Xia's Haijin, yes, yes." his college classmate. Xia's Haijin also did not introduce herself as Li Yuan's girlfriend, but just said that they were college classmates. Shenziu, Li Lanrong, Wang Lisha, Deng Miki, and others on the side all felt that the atmosphere was a bit strange. This was completely different from the plot they imagined, and it was not on the same channel at all. When two rivals met, they didn't confront each other or even fight. It seemed that they were even a little friendly. Moreover, the two did not follow the advice of their military advisors. They just greeted each other politely, which made the girls stare at each other, not knowing how the next plot would go. They had never experienced such a scene. Before the situation deteriorated to an uncontrollable situation, Li Yuan coughed and said, "Don't stand here, let's go." Sixth brother, help me take the textbook back to the dormitory. After Li Yuan finished speaking, he threw the book to Lucia and asked him to take it back to the dormitory. Without saying anything, I stood up, waved to Bai Wuxi and Xia's Haijin, and walked straight out of the classroom. Seeing that Li Yuan left without any discussion, Wang Lisha stomped her feet and muttered something at the corner of her mouth. For some reason, Bai Wuxi breathed a sigh of relief in her heart. This situation was not bad and did not cause serious consequences. If she follows Wang Lisha's advice, she might end up making things worse and make Li Yuan hate her even more. She already regretted it. She shouldn't have listened to her roommates and come to the computer department to claim her sovereignty today. Bai Wuxi smiled at Xia's Haijin and followed Li Yuan directly, and walked out of the classroom first. Xia's Haijin saw that Li Yuan and Bai Wuxi had left, and she was still standing there in a daze, a little at a loss. Gao Xian asked, "Haijin, do you want to follow?" "I don't know." Xia's Haijin shook her head blankly. Chapter 179 Backstabbing from Roommates, Secretary Xia's New Mission. Seeing Xia's Haijin looking at a loss, Gao Xian grabbed her little hand and reminded her comfortingly. "Haijin, go out and take a look." "Oh," Xia's Haijin responded, looked at Li Yuan's leaving figure, and also pinched the corner of his clothes, his body trembling slightly, and followed him out obediently. Seeing Xia's Haijin following closely, Gao Xian couldn't help but feel distressed and regretful. With Haijin's personality, she will definitely not be able to compete with Li Yuan's other girlfriends. "Oh, damn Li, Haijin is so obedient and beautiful, why can't you be devoted to Haijin? If I were a boy, I would be afraid that Haijin would melt if I held her in my mouth, and afraid that she would be too handsome if I held her in my palm. How could I have room for other girls in my heart?" Ji Chen Chen nodded in agreement. There were a total of 6 people in their dormitory. No matter what the personalities of the other 5 people were, no one had ever said a bad thing about Xia's Haijin. This soft and sticky girl is like the kind of excellence without dead ends, and people can't find any flaws at all. It's just a pity that she was passively deceived by a scumbag. She knew that the other party was cheating on several women, but she was still foolishly following him. Li Yuan's other girlfriends all had various sports cars, but she had nothing. Ji Chen Chen sighed, "Ji Jin is too silly and too gentle. Let's follow her secretly and see. We can't let her be bullied." Li Lanrong clenched her fists and nodded in agreement. "Yeah, if that girl dares to go too far, we are not vegetarians either." As soon as the protagonist of the melon eating left, the decibels in the whole classroom instantly increased by 90 points, becoming noisy and lively. It's a pity that Li Yuan's 2 girlfriends didn't tear each other apart directly. It's really disappointing this melon is not fragrant anymore. Maybe we should pay attention to the impact after all. This is a classroom, it's not good to spread it out. They all went out, they are likely to tear each other apart outside. Let's go and see quickly. Haha, let's go together. I found that everyone is a fun person. Damn, those bastards are like rabbits, they run faster than me, for fear of missing a good show. If they had fought openly in the classroom, it would have been on the hot search of our school that day. 2 campus beauties are jealous of each other and fought on the spot, all for the same man. You understand the title party, You shouldn't study computer science, go study journalism. I think the position in the shock department of UC browser is very suitable for you. In a corner of the classroom, Fang Yanzi touched Wang Zhirong, who was still in a daze, and teased. Wrong, what's wrong with you? Are you still thinking about being stood up yesterday? Wang Zhirong, with lifeless eyes, turned around and looked at the disappearing backs of Bai Wuxi and Xiao's Haijin, feeling extremely disappointed. She was just a little bit away from getting Li Yuan yesterday. But with the news that Li Yuan was cheating on 4 women, it was exposed on the internet. She couldn't think of any chance for her to hold Li Yuan hostage and sleep him again. Yanni, I think I may have no chance, Wang Zhirong said in a lost tone. Fang Yanni pursed her lips and smiled secretly, and continued to make precise attacks. Wake up, wrong, you never had a chance from the beginning to the end. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 278. Li Yuan's vision is too high. Whether it's Xiao's Haijin or the girl from the finance academy just now, they are all first-class beautiful. It's too difficult for you to take Li Yuan away from them. I suggest you change to another one target. You don't understand, Wang Zhirong said, and remained silent for a long time before slowly nodding and sighing faintly. Maybe, I realize where my problem lies, and that's why I was rejected even though I submitted the application. Oh, wrong, what questions do you have? Fang Yanni asked curiously. Wang Zhirong smiled wryly at himself. Some men like to be clean very much, but I am no longer clean. That's why Li Yuan avoids me like a snake and a scorpion. Listening to her best friend's self-deprecation, Fang Yanni was stunned. How come a girl who was quite proud before seemed to have changed into a different person after chasing Li Yuan crazily for a period of time? Where was your pride? Was Li Yuan completely shocked? Fang Yanni quickly tried to comfort her. Wrong, you are great, Li Yuan is blind, you must not give up on yourself. Wang Zhirong's eyes were sparkling with crystal tears, and his voice was whimpering. Yanni, you have never been in love, you don't understand. For men, the first time with a girl is really, very important. It completely determines their attitude towards you. Even if they don't say it when they are in love, it's not your first time to say I don't care, but I definitely care deeply in my heart. No boy would care less. It's just that at this time they just want to get your body. After they get it completely, they will take the opportunity to get angry if there is any conflict in the future. In the end, those high-quality boys will not marry you for this reason. Fang Yanni opened her mouth and looked at Wang Zhirong, who looked lost, but hesitated to speak. She clearly remembered that when she first met Wang Zhirong more than a month ago, he didn't have this personality. At that time, she was in high spirits, and she was very happy when talking about relationship issues. I am still complacent about how many people I dated in high school. But after getting to know Li Yuan and knowing how good he was, Wang Zhirong seemed to be possessed by a man possessed, and began to chase after him crazily, trying to give away free gifts, seduce him, and even threaten Li Yuan with excuses, but Li Yuan stayed away. Her inner pride was completely shattered, trampled under her feet and severely humiliated. Fang Yanni also understands Li Yuan's mentality. If she were Li Yuan, she would definitely choose Xiao's Haijin, who is more beautiful, cleaner, and has never been in love. But she definitely couldn't say it directly, as that would add fuel to the fire, so she could only comfort Wang Zhirong against her will. Wrong, don't think like this. We girls will suffer hardships in love. As long as we respect ourselves and love ourselves, don't be promiscuous, and take every relationship seriously, who can control themselves in love. It's not your fault, it's all because there are too many scumbags in this world. Wang Zhirong did not answer, but just stared blankly outside the classroom, with a hint of regret flashing in his heart. When you meet the right person, but because you have lost your most precious thing, You are not even qualified to contact that person, this is the biggest regret in life. Next to the flower bed outside the classroom, Li Yuan looked at Bai Wuxi and Xia's Haijin in front of him, two freshman girls who were only 18 or 19 years old. Even though they were in good shape, they still looked young. This situation in the Shura field was the first time he had encountered it in his 2 lifetimes. Li Yuan wanted to know in his heart, what do the real Neptunes do when they meet 2 girlfriends? This was beyond his knowledge. Li Yuan looked at Bai Wuxi and tried to speak in a calm tone, Xiao Bai, there is no one else now. You came to me suddenly. What's the matter? Bai Wuxi was stunned and speechless by Li Yuan's question. She stared at Li Yuan nervously and gave a hesitant answer. I want to meet sisters Haijin. This was the true thought in her heart. She was indeed very, very curious about Xia's Haijin, her love rival. Only when you know yourself and the enemy can you fight without danger. After Zhong Tingyu chose to quit, Zhang Ziyu from Jida was far away, so only Xia's Haijin, who was in the same school, was her first target. She really wants to know what kind of girl Li Yuan likes so much that she goes to find her as soon as she returns to school, not herself or Zhong Tingyu. Xia's Haijin looked at Li Yuan and Bai Wuxi with a somewhat reserved expression, pinching the corners of her clothes, feeling a little uneasy. Last night, she didn't sleep well all night, her mind was full of random thoughts. Thinking about every bit of her time with Li Yuan, although it was only a little over a month, the experiences she had in this month were more colorful than her previous 18 years combined. But the more unforgettable it is, the more she likes it, the more afraid she is of losing it. It's like having a beautiful dream. When the rooster crows in the morning, she suddenly wakes up and forgets even the memory of the dream. Li Yuan glanced around with his peripheral vision. There were many familiar faces watching in secret, eating melons secretly. In order to avoid accidents, Li Yuan thought it was best not to let Bai Wuxi and Xia's Haijin stay together. Maid, no wonder those celebrities wear sunglasses and masks when they go out. It's really unpleasant to be surrounded by people taking pictures wherever you go. Li Yuan murmured secretly, looking for a reason in his heart, looked at Bai Wuxi, and said with a smile. Xiao Bai, since you have nothing else to do, I will go to the company in a while. You and your roommate should go back first, and I will find you when I am free. Bai Wuxi listened to Li Yuan's words, his head was confused, and seeing Li Yuan's expression was a little gloomy, he was very panicked. He opened his mouth and wanted to explain, but he didn't know how to start. He regretted it very much in his heart. Why did he come to Li Yuan in such a whimsical way? Bai Wuxi was silent for a moment, looked at Li Yuan deeply, and said in a lost voice, "Oh, brother, then I'm leaving." After saying that, he turned around and left quickly. Unknowingly, tears had turned into 2 streams, flowing down his white cheeks. Seeing Bai Wuxi leave, Li Yuan looked at Xia's Haijin, who had been looking down at his feet, and explained. Haijin, don't take it to heart. Yes, Xia's Haijin looked up at Li Yuan, and a trace of inexplicable emotions flashed in her clear eyes. Li Yuan took Xia's Haijin's hand and smiled faintly, come to the company with me at noon. Xia's Haijin didn't ask why, and nodded obediently, oh, okay. Bai Wuxi walked with tears in her eyes, but she couldn't help but look back. When she saw Li Yuan taking Xia's Haijin's hand, she couldn't hold back the grievance in her heart anymore. Tears flowed down like they were free, and she felt so heartbroken that she couldn't breathe. In the corner of the flower bed, she squatted on the ground, hugged her knees, and cried bitterly. At this time, a figure suddenly jumped out from the side and handed over a pack of tissues. Bai Wuxi classmate, here you go. Bai Wuxi raised her head with tears in her eyes and looked at the handsome boy in front of her. She felt a little familiar, so she didn't take the tissue handed over by the other party. She didn't say a word, got up, and was ready to leave. Then she heard the boy's voice again. Classmate by Wuxi, Li Yuan is such a jerk, he has multiple girlfriends. You are so outstanding, is it necessary for you to follow him wholeheartedly? Bai Wuxi paused, then quickly walked away. Li Yuan is just a playboy, he doesn't deserve you, he is with you just to get revenge on you, I heard him say it myself. Bai Wuxi's body trembled suddenly, then he stopped, turned around, looked at the boy for the first time, and asked with a trembling voice. Who are you? How do you know? The handsome boy was relieved to see that Bai Wuxi finally spoke to him, the corners of his mouth slightly raised, and a secretly complacent smile appeared in his eyes. Wei 11, Li Yuan, that scumbag, is not worthy of you at all. He just has some shit luck. Bai Wei 11 frowned, stared coldly at the boy in front of him, and said word by word. Who are you? Also, don't call me Wei 11, I don't know you well. The handsome boy was frustrated, but he didn't care at all. He shook his head, put on a self-proclaimed handsome posture, and replied with a smile. It doesn't matter who I am. Just treat me as a stranger with a sense of justice. I can't stand Li Yuan's behavior and give you a kind reminder. Bai Wei 11 frowned and asked, why should I believe you? Haha, Wei 11, believe it or not, but I promise that every word I say is true. Li Yuan is with you purely to get revenge on you, and then dump you later. Bai Wei 11 took a deep look at the boy in front of him, and replied lightly, got it? After that, he turned around and left. The handsome boy was stunned when he saw Bai Wuxi's indifferent reaction. Bai Wuxi's reaction was not right. He hurriedly followed him and blocked Bai Wuxi's way, repeating. Wuxi, did you hear me clearly? I said Li Yuan is with you just to get revenge on you, and he will dump you soon. He doesn't like you at all. Bai Wuxi stared at the boy in front of him coldly, frowning even tighter. Please call me Bai Wuxi. Besides, I said I already know. The handsome boy stared at Bai Wuxi unwillingly. Well, classmate Bai Wuxi, I just kindly remind you that it is not worth it for you to be with a scumbag like Li Yuan. I know him better than you. Hearing this, Bai Wuxi suddenly smiled and looked at the other party coldly. You know him better than me, so what is your relationship with him? The handsome boy was shocked and pretended to be indifferent to answer, it doesn't matter what my relationship with him is. What matters is whether you believe it or not. Anyway, I have reminded you, believe it or not. After the handsome boy finished speaking, he turned around and walked away with a slight smile on his face. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Kan Ru Xiahua. Chapter 279. He didn't believe that Bai Wuxi would continue to choose to be with Li Yuan after knowing the news. Li Yuan, why do you steal all the limelight? All the girls I like have become your girlfriends. When Bai Wuxi saw that the other party did not continue to entangle him, he left directly. He was stunned in place, thinking about everything he had known since he met Li Yuan. Scenes appeared in his mind, and complex emotions suddenly arose in his mind. His eyes sparkled with crystal tears, and he murmured sadly. Li Yuan, do you really still love me? Are you really just staying with me to get back at me, and then kick me away after you get everything from me? No, I don't believe it. You said yesterday that I am your Bai Yueguang and you will never leave me. Brother, I'm really scared right now. I'm afraid that what this person says is true, and I'm afraid that you will abandon me. Bai Wuxi was stunned in place, crying and talking to himself, until a familiar voice came to his ears. Wuxi, where have you gone? Why can't I find you in the blink of an eye? Wang Lisa and Deng Maiki came to Bai Wuxi panting together. When Wang Lisa saw Bai Wuxi crying, her anger instantly rose, and she shouted angrily. Waxi, why are you crying again? Did Li Yuan say something unpleasant to you? Li Yuan, this stinky scumbag, why does he make you cry every day? Den Mikey also stepped forward with heartache and hugged Bai Waxi in her arms. Waxi, don't keep it in your heart. If you have anything, tell it and we will help you refer to it. Bai Waxi stopped crying, looked at the two roommates, and forced a smile. Sasha, Mikey, I'm fine, let's go back. Seeing Bai Waxi forcing a smile, Wang Lisa and Den Mikey looked at each other and could only nod in agreement. Well, Wei 11, I heard that there are new dishes in the cafeteria today. Let's go and try them together. Bai Waxi shook his head slightly. Sasha, I'm not hungry. I'm a little sleepy. I want to go back to the dormitory early to sleep for a while. Okay then. Wang Lisa saw that something was wrong with Bai Waxi's mood, and she secretly regretted that she shouldn't have urged Bai Waxi to go directly to the classroom to demonstrate to Li Yuan today. Good intentions but wrong things. On the other side, Li Yuan drove a sports car and took Xia's Haijin directly to the company. In the conference room, Lin Yue opened the PPT and was seriously reporting on the results of yesterday's preliminary internal test of Zhi website. Mr. Li, based on the experiences given by a total of 100 players from 10 universities, they are generally satisfied with the website's model and sections, and they all gave positive reviews. Especially the confession wall, wet topics, pedestrian street, sports section, etc. we launched are relatively novel, especially the various title modes we launched have been widely praised. But they also fed back some problems and deficiencies. I sorted out and summarized them based on the feedback. The specific problems are as follows. First, the interface of the website needs to be optimized and is not distinctive enough. Second, there is not much effective information in the basketball, football, and other sports sections of the website, and there is no data support. Third, in the pedestrian street, there is a lack of news reports on current political hot topics, entertainment gossip, hot searches, etc. Fourth, Lin Yue came to Lin Lin and talked about a total of 8 issues in various aspects. After hearing this, Li Yuan couldn't help but nod. The feedback from these closed beta players was generally in line with his expectations. Team leader Lin, your website construction team has done a good job. You really put your heart into it. Do you have any good suggestions regarding existing problems? Lin Yue had already started looking for countermeasures after learning about the internal beta situation. Mr. Li, except for the first, fourth, sixth, and eighth issues, which we can optimize and improve on our own, there are other issues that we cannot optimize and improve in a short time. Mr. Li, I would like to raise a question. We currently have too few manpower. Website development is not difficult, but website operation and maintenance, data collection, etc. all require manpower to be responsible for specific tasks. I suggest that we can recruit more people. Li Yuan nodded slightly, and he naturally recognized this problem. At the beginning, he knew almost nothing about how to create a company, manage a business, develop and create, etc. He just searched some knowledge from the internet and went straight to work. After the company gradually got on the right track, I gradually realized that managing a company is not that easy, especially for network technology companies. It is even more laborious and requires a lot of energy, manpower, material and financial resources. After thinking deeply for a moment, Li Yuan looked at the employees in the conference room. They were not in a good state of mind due to working overtime during the National Day holiday. If he hadn't directly given him a high salary and 3 times the overtime allowance during holidays, he might have become a hateful black-hearted capitalist in the hearts of his employees. Regarding the problem of insufficient manpower raised by team leader Lin, it is indeed a real difficulty encountered by the company. I have already contacted a headhunting company to find some suitable candidates. By the way, if you have suitable friends, you can also introduce them to our company. As long as they have real talents and practical knowledge, I will definitely not treat them badly. If I can recruit some talents for the company, I will give them a one-time payment appropriately. The material reward and the specific amount will definitely surprise everyone. As soon as Li Yuan's words came out, a low-pitched discussion immediately erupted in the conference room. Today, the global economic crisis is still continuing, and the employment situation is indeed not optimistic. The salary offered by Li Yuan is indeed good among companies of the same level. This emerging network technology company has to be willing to spend money in the early stage. Immediately, some employees were moved. In their minds, Li Yuan is a typical rich second generation. He has plenty of money and nowhere to spend it. He can also drive a Lamborghini sports car and have several girlfriends at the same time. In the eyes of college students who have not yet entered society, this may be a bad and negative scandal. But for those of them who have experienced cruel workplace struggles and witnessed the cruelty of society, having a boss who is rich and willing to spend money is simply a matter of great luck for 8 lifetimes. As for how many girlfriends you have at the same time. Haha, what's that? Every rich boss is like that. The red flags at home are not down, but the colorful flags are fluttering outside. Mr. Li, I have a friend who has experience working in a major internet company in the imperial capital. He has always wanted to return to the capital. He is very experienced in website development and website maintenance. I want him to come to our company for a try. Give it a try. I also have a friend who is also planning to change jobs. After someone started, the whole conference room soon started to hear enthusiastic suggestions, starting the I have a friend series of introductions. Li Yuan was speechless and very confused. Do everyone have so many friends? Ahem, you can ask your friends to submit their resumes to Secretary Xia first. The company will invite them for interviews based on the situation. After Li Yuan finished speaking, he looked at Xia's Haijin, who was sitting obediently next to him, and gave him a look. Secretary Xia, in the past 2 days, you have to carefully screen your resumes and then select suitable candidates and hand them over to me. Xia's Haijin was suddenly entrusted with an important task, her heart was beating fast, and she was a little afraid that she was not qualified. She wanted to say something, but in the face of Li Yuan's encouraging eyes, she still nodded and agreed. Mr. Li, I will do a good job carefully. In the conference room, Lin Yue, Xie Zheng, and others had different expressions when they saw this scene, and various thoughts came into their minds at the same time. Secretary Xia's position in Mr. Li's heart is becoming more and more important, and even the company's personnel power is beginning to be involved. The boss's other girlfriend has never been brought to the company. Secretary Xia must be the boss's real girlfriend. According to online exposure, the boss has 4 girlfriends in total, but he only brought Secretary Xia here. Everyone looked at Xia's Haijin with fiery eyes. A secretary who had both financial and personnel power was really capable. I recommend a book. If you are interested, you can read it. Chapter 180 The Instructor's Little Thoughts, I also want to be scummed. The meeting lasted for more than an hour, and finally all the existing problems about the Zhi website were clarified. Research was discussed on site and solutions to the problems were formulated. Li Yuan looked at Lin Yue, who was responsible for the development and construction of the website. Team leader Lin, how long do you think it will take for Zhi to be launched on all major platforms? Lin Yue pondered for a moment, gave an affirmative answer, and replied. Mr. Li, according to the feedback from internal beta users, the overall performance and mode of our website are very popular with users. After optimizing some shortcomings, we can go online directly. It will take about 3 days, and it can be October 12th at the latest, or it will be officially launched before Friday. What we need to consider now is how to promote, increase user registrations and activity, and compete with those established websites to seize the market. I suggest that we use various methods to put it on the market. We can advertise on 360 browser, QQ, Weibo, etc., or directly find some popular celebrities for endorsement. Then, Lin Yue described the market operation strategy in detail. Once the website is built, how to promote it is also a big problem. In this period of vigorous development of internet companies, new websites are established every day and then quickly disappear, making the competition extremely fierce. If a website does not have a core section to attract users and traffic, it will quickly be eliminated by the market. Unless they are like Taiba or Weibo, they have already captured a huge market of users many years ago. Lin Yue was talking about some traditional promotion methods, which made Li Yuan frown secretly. He has his own ideas on how to promote Zhihu. Xiaohongshu and Zhihu in my previous life were not established at this time, but they will be very popular in the future and occupy half of the domestic forums. As long as we can capture young women and male college students, we are not afraid of losing users. Take the Zhihu he developed as an example. It involves a lot of sections and content, and the user experience and feedback are also good. He has played it a few times himself and feels it is okay, but the database is a bit empty. If the confession fails, chase her bestie. Author, Ren Shenkui Ken Ru Xiahua. Chapter 280. Li Yuan looked at Lin Yue, Xiezheng, and others, and smiled. What you said is the traditional way of delivery, which requires more funds, but the effect is not necessarily very good. Let me tell you my opinion and let's discuss it together. I think we can use the method of rewarded registration to invite users to cut a knife. After completing a certain number of registered users, we can get cash rewards from our company. Find more online water army to attract traffic on major platforms, such as posting intensively on Taiba. Li Yuan talked freely. Now is not the era of later traffic. Although he does not understand the gameplay of traffic, he has seen some common moves. And hiring a large number of water army does not cost much money. Some college students are willing to do it part-time. It does not cost much money. It is just posting intensively and watering the group. In addition, the unique invitation of Pink Succeed to users to cut a knife can also attract a large number of users to register. This kind of traffic promotion model is undoubtedly much more efficient than finding celebrity endorsements and signing contracts with major websites. It can also attract more real users and is a way to do great things with little money. Listening to the various promotion methods mentioned by Li Yuan, Lin Yue, Xiezheng, and others all brightened their eyes and showed shock. Mr. Li, the way you mentioned of cutting a knife to invite users to register is very magical. It accurately grasps the user psychology of college students and the fact that college students have a lot of leisure time. Lin Yue said with emotion that Li Yuan's gameplay is still relatively rare at present, and the application areas are very wide. Li Yuan smiled, haha, don't just praise me, but put forward your own ideas and suggestions. Let's brainstorm and try to determine the method and come up with a plan at noon today. In the discussion between Li Yuan, Lin Yue, Xiezheng, and others, in the blink of an eye, it was more than 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Xiaozhaijin had been quietly listening to the discussion in the conference room. Sometimes she would secretly stare at Li Yuan's sunny and confident profile. When Li Yuan smiled at her, her cheeks would blush and her heart would pound. Li Yuan, who worked hard, was very much like the business tycoons she imagined in her mind. He was full of sunshine and confidence, and his words were always important, which made other employees in the company respect him. Li Yuan was talking with a dry mouth and his stomach suddenly growled. He sighed casually. It's time for dinner. Oh, it would be great if we could order takeout. The speaker was unintentional, but the listener was interested. Lin Yue was already eye-opening to the various promotion methods proposed by Li Yuan. When she heard the words order takeout, she immediately realized some kind of opportunity. Mr. Li, can I ask what you mean by ordering takeout? As a otaku who often ordered takeout in his previous life, Li Yuan was naturally very familiar with the takeout industry. In 2008, the takeout industry could only be said to have just sprouted and was a completely emerging industry. Takeaway means that users choose food provided by merchants online, complete the order, and then the takeaway company delivers the product to the user. This will be a very popular model in the future, and the market is also very promising. Li Yuan briefly introduced the takeaway model. Lin Yue took a breath and looked at Li Yuan in shock, as if she was looking at a monster. She immediately realized that this was a huge business opportunity with unlimited potential. Mr. Li, the takeaway model you mentioned will definitely be very popular in the future. It is a huge business opportunity that has not yet been developed. If our company can enter the takeaway industry, it is very likely to become a large enterprise like Qiandu and Wanji. Li Yuan nodded. It goes without saying how big the takeaway market is. There are tens of millions of takeaway boys alone. Haha, I'll let you know in advance that food delivery is one of the main directions of the company's future development. After the Zhid website and the game King of Glory are on track, we will focus on trying the food delivery industry. As for now, the first priority is to develop the Zhid website and King of Glory. Food delivery is not that easy to do. If you want to do food delivery, you need some financial support, which is very expensive. Although he is not short of money now, it is not enough to cope with this big situation. And it's meaningless to do small things. It is very easy to be borrowed by other big companies and then swallowed up. It's just to make wedding clothes for others. Only after King of Glory goes online and absorbs a lot of funds, there will be enough financial resources to engage in the food delivery industry. At present, the main task is to build a website first to attract users, and then gradually add various sections to the Zhid website. When there are enough users, it will be okay to separate a food delivery website, which also involves online payment. Anyway, the food delivery industry is not that simple, and the water is very deep. Li Yuan didn't know much about these internet industries. He just heard some breaking news. After all, he was just an ordinary social animal in his previous life and had never started a business. Listening to Li Yuan's plan, Lin Yue, Xie Zheng, Hu Zhenqiang and other backbones of the company were shocked and felt Li Yuan's huge ambition. First it was a forum website, then games, and finally takeaways. If it can be successful, Datang Technology will definitely become a super internet company. Several people immediately ignited their ambitions, and even when they ate fast food together at noon, they ate a few more bowls of rice. After lunch, it was time for afternoon classes. Li Yuan took Xia's Haijin back to school, called the roll, and secretly ran back to the dormitory to start the great cause of writing. Recently, because he is busy with love affairs, he has less and less time to write, and even the basic operation of writing 10,000 words a day is almost impossible. If he didn't have the talent and memory of rebirth, he could only write 1,000 or 2,000 words per hour like in his previous life, so he might as well give up writing novels. Enjoy life, have more girlfriends, travel around, and taste local delicacies. Isn't this great? With the current financial resources, even if he only buys Bitcoin, some stocks of Sungsuan, Maotai, Tesla, Fruit, and Biguandi, he won't have to worry for 10 lifetimes. After a while, Lucia and others came back from school and saw that Li Yuan actually stayed in the dormitory and didn't go out to hang out. They were very curious. "Hey, brother Yuan, the sun is rising from the west, you are alone in the dormitory? We thought you went to accompany your girlfriend. Brother Yuan, let's go to the court to play for a while. Renjun, Yu Xiao, and others have agreed to practice together in advance. In the afternoon, we will play a 5v5 game with the computer class 2 next door." "What you said, I can't stay in the dormitory, right?" Li Yuan stretched and yawned. He has been busy with love recently, working day and night, and his body has begun to alarm. "Well, it happens that I have nothing to do in the afternoon, so let's go to the court to play for a while." I haven't dunked for a long time, and my hands are itching. He is 1.85 meters tall naked, and he can touch the basket at this age before rebirth. After receiving a significant blessing after rebirth, he also pays great attention to exercise. Although his jumping ability is not as good as those monsters in the NBA, his running jump is also about 85 centimeters. His body is at the peak jumping period of 18 years old, so he can do all kinds of dunks. Lucia chuckled, "Hey, brother Yun, you are so strong, you should be gentle, don't break the backboard on the court." Li Yun's eyes lit up, and suddenly thought of a joke. A college student broke the backboard while playing basketball, and was reported to the whole school, which made him famous throughout the school and many girls pursued him. Li Yun was about to change into his jersey when his cell phone rang. Looking closely, it was an unfamiliar local mobile phone number. "Whose call is this? Why does it look familiar?" Li Yun muttered. At first, he didn't want to pay attention, but looking at the last few numbers, he felt very familiar, as if he had heard it before. After thinking about it, it might be an acquaintance, not a harassing call, so Li Yun picked up the phone and answered it. As soon as the call was connected, a nice female voice came from the other end of the phone. "Li Yun, school is over." Li Yun felt that the voice was familiar, but for a moment, he didn't think of who the other party was. Recently, there have been many calls from girls, most of them are seniors, which made him experience the troubles of happiness. People are afraid of being famous, and pigs are afraid of being fat. He is famous, fat, talented, and rich, which makes him attractive to some types of girls. "Who are you?" Li Yun asked. After saying this, there was a sudden silence on the other end of the phone, and he was getting impatient. Li Yun said lightly, "If you don't talk, I'll hang up." At this time, the voice on the other end of the phone sounded again, containing a deep resentment. "I'm Chi Siu." Hearing the name Chi Siu, Li Yun's head trembled, and he immediately remembered who this was. Isn't it his beautiful, sexy, and mature female counselor? That day in the college student entrepreneurship office, when he went to apply for the school's entrepreneurship support, he was teased by this beautiful female counselor. Sometimes he still secretly savors that special feeling, but unfortunately, he has been too busy recently and has no time to be ambiguous with this sexy female counselor. "It's Teacher Chi. Your voice has become nice again," Li Yun answered with a flowery smile. "Teacher Chi, what do you want to talk to me about?" Chi Siu said speechlessly, "Well, you should come to the entrepreneurship office in the comprehensive building now, about the entrepreneurship support." Li Yun glanced at Lucia and Wu Hao, who were changing into basketball uniforms. He thought to himself, "I'm sorry, I can't accompany you to the basketball court again. It's better to work with Teacher Chi, business is more important." "Okay, Teacher Chi, I'll go there right away," Li Yun answered readily. Speaking of which, he hasn't seen this sexy queen instructor for more than 10 days. Suddenly, he really missed her a little. Li Yun looked at Lucia and others and said, "Hello, old six, hussy, I have something to go out for, you guys go first." "No, brother Yun, why are you not going again?" "I have an appointment," Lucia asked blankly. Without Li Yun, their computer class 1 may not be able to beat computer class 2. As one of the majors with the most boys in the entire Daxia University, the quality of boys in the two classes of the computer department is quite high, and there are relatively many who like to play basketball. Wu Hao also asked in confusion, "Brother Yun, the official game is on Friday, and our class basketball team has not practiced together recently. Brother Yun, can't you make time to practice for a while?" Li Yun shook his head and explained, "Lao Lu, hussy, I really have something to do. Teacher Chi wants to see me. I have to go. You play first. If I come back early, I will go to the court to find you." Lucia asked in confusion, "Teacher Chi? Which teacher Chi? Wu Hao's eyes lit up, and a sexy, mature, and beautiful queen appeared in his mind. She was the dream lover of hundreds of boys in the 2 classes of the freshman computer department this year.